Hey you guys, welcome to part 3 of What If Deku Was a Samurai. This is being recorded directly after part 2. I will now throw my phone on the charger, just to ensure battery life. Because I'm pretty sure part 2 is like a solid hour and 30 minutes long. So last time we left off, Deku and Mako, Deku had proposed to Mako. And so, we now time skip to a week later, when they're having a, oh, sorry. Oh, well. Sorry, y'all, I was talking to my grandma. Wait a second. Nah, I gave an entire speech about not saying sorry, saying I apologize in the last video. Sorry, I apologize. I was talking to my grandmother. Imagine giving an entire speech and then betraying that speech and saying I'm sorry, even after you said never say sorry. Say I apologize. But anywho, they're on a quadruple date. So it's Deku and Mako and oh hey, it finally saved. But yeah, it's Deku and Mako. Hey yo, why is my phone not plugged? There we go. Something must have been wrong. Oh wait, yeah, I didn't have a see, there are moments when your brain turns off. Anywho, Deku. But yeah, it's Deku, Mako, Kirishima and Mina, Bakugo and Shinzo, and then Todoroki and Momo. They all went to an, let's say, main event. So they all essentially went to the arcade and a pizza place. And then, yeah, they went there, watched a couple of movies. You know, just basic coupley stuff. But, while they're there, Deku, he went over to, the prize thing to get Mako a plushie shark, or not Mako a plushie shark, but Kuragaya, so that's their son, a plushie shark. So essentially, yep. This one. So yeah. Darn it, we're... But, yeah. So, Deku, he goes, gets it, and then, grabs, like, a couple of toys. So, let's say they're, like, Funko Pops, and, like, a couple of, like, Marvel figures. Like an Iron Man, a Black Panther, a Killmonger, think of whatever Marvel character you want. He got that for Kuragaya. And then he got some like little stuffed animals for Mako. Okay, shawty a little baddie. Hey. But yeah. Also, by the way, if you recognize the video game that this is from, which most of you under the age of 18 will not. Me, 16, saying this. But, yeah. You really won't, know of this, shall we say. Even though the game is technically relatively new. It came out, 4 or 5 years ago? But, anyhow. So, yeah. And then, he gets back to the group carrying, like, 6, 7, like, man. Really?
Why didn't you put the trash can out? Because I told you to.
I did.
Sitting right over this side there. Where was that? A red trash can. Did not. You know, I told you to put it out.
Ay, ay, ay. Anywho. So, Deku. He comes back with all those big bags. And then, everybody's just like, what'd you get? And he says, stuff for Mako and stuff for my child. Like, and he also says, and for some reason there was a plushie of me. There was only one, but there was one of me. And then the guy said it was like the last one in stock. And he gave it to me for free since it was of me. So, yeah. So whenever I'm not there, Mako can cuddle this thing. And she's just like, my husband's the best. And he's like, yep, I honestly am. But, Deku, once they all get back to the boat ship, Deku, he calls up, Kirigaya, and he says, come here, son. And he comes, like, running. He says, hey, Dad. He says, you have fun with your grandpa? And he says, yep. And then Deku, he says, good. Alright. Hey, I got you. Use some of those Marvel things that you like. And he's like, really? Which ones? And he like pulls out a Killmonger one, a Black Panther one, an Iron Man one. And he says, wow, Dad, these are all my favorite characters and stuff like that. And he's silently being sad and depressed. Because I will never have any of those moments with my father because he dipped. That nigga went bye-bye. He said instant transmission as soon as I was out of the womb. That nigga could sense me. But anywho, he's missing out. But anywho, so Deku, he goes and he says, come on, I'll help you put them up in your room. And he like has like shelves of like Marvel toys and Marvel comics and like stuff like that. And he helps his son decorate, and he also got him a couple of posters. And then he said, there, you like where everything is? And he goes, yep. Thanks, Dad. And he like gives him a hug. He's like, you're welcome, son. And then like Mina, she's just taking photos. Just like, Deku, you are a really good dad. And he says, yep. And Aizawa, he's already teaching Kirigaya like school and stuff. And he asked to borrow Aizawa's 3D printer, and he made a Dad of the Year award and like spray painted it gold. And he says, hey Dad, I have a present for you. And he says, really? What is it? And he like pulls it out, and he says, here, Dad. And Deku, he's just crying tears of joy, and he's like, Dad, are you sad? Did I do something wrong? He says, no, son, these are happy tears. You amaze your old man. And he says, but last time I checked, you were only 17. He's like, it doesn't matter. You're the best son any man could ask for. And he's just crying manly tears. And then like Bakugo, Kirishima, and Shoto are just in the back, just like joy level maximum. But yeah. And so Deku, he goes, frick, my nose. But and he shows it to Mako, and she's just like, oh, it's so cute. And she's just like, but you do deserve it. Along with these, as she lifts up her melons, he's just like, yep. Man of the Year award has gone to me. And she says, yep. Time skip a month later, because I'm going to say they didn't have any activities for some reason. Yeah. So they could prepare for the licensing exam. Because that happened before the camp, and everybody seems to like skip over it, even though it was its own arc. So yeah. But Deku, he goes, and it's like the day of the wedding, and their son, aka Kirigaya, is the ring bearer. bruh. Drawing lightning bolts is the strangest thing in human history. Anywho. There we go. But anywho. So, he goes and, like, he takes it to his dad. And a whole wedding ceremony. A lot of crying. Tears of joy. But yeah. Deku and Mako are married now. But, yeah, and Kirigaya, he cried happy tears. Because his dad's, like, the best man in the world, I'm going to be honest. Speaking of the best men, Bakugo, Kirishima, and Todoroki. Crying, like, bruh. It was just, they were crying buckets, my boy. Buckets. Anywho. So. And like Nezu, he congratulated them on being married and yada yada yada. The top 50 heroes came. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you're asking, All Might is a knight class. Just in case anybody was wondering. So yeah. Anywho, sorry for the moment of silence. But, yeah. So now, licensing exam. So everybody, they all know who the strongest is in 1A. Akuma is what he's called, and his hero name will be, what is, there we go. Chinotsuki no samurai. That just sounds dope. Chinotsuki no samurai. But yeah, that's his hero name. Yeah, the bloody hero. Chinotsuki no samurai. Bruh, I swear. That's just dope. I'm going to be honest. But, Deku, he walks in. He sees, like, the guy with an air quirk. He's an assassin class now. And he, like, manipulates air as part of his ability. And he's just, like, walking by with class 1A. And, like, they're all just like, hi, we're class 1A from Deku. And the other members of his quartet all go, do you think we care? And they were like, don't act high and mighty just because you got into 1A of UA. And Deku, he says, I'm not acting high and mighty. I'm just making sure you all know where your place is. And, like, everybody in 1A, they never heard Deku talk like this. Like, even though they know he's, like, cold, yeah, this was a new level for that nigga. Like, I'ma be honest. But yeah. And so, Deku, he goes and he smacks on he smacks on his wings, and by smacks on I mean flare, like, turns them on, and, like, he just has them on his body, like, after, like, the quartet just saying, does it look like we care? And, like, everybody, they were just mad. And they were just in, like, class 1A. Everybody was scoping them out. And Deku, he said. And, like, Kirigaya, so his son, is just like, hey, Dad, why is everybody looking at us? It feels strange. It's scary. And Deku, he was just like, nah, these niggas done scared my son. Deku, he then, at that point, leaked out all, and I mean all, of his bloodlust. Sending everybody besides class 1A into paraplegic shock. Or yeah, that's what it's called, right? And, like, the weakest ones he sent into a coma. Deku, he then woke everyone up, and he says, that's what you get for scaring my son. And, like, the wind guy, he was like, that's very selfish of you. And he's like, so is scaring my son. No, I suggest you never do it again. And he says, so what if I do? It's not like you're gonna do anything. Ooh, he shouldn't have said that. I'm going to be honest. He really shouldn't. Aizawa, he then arrives, and Deku, he says, perfect timing. Aizawa, permission to eliminate. And he's like, who are you trying to... Okay, yep, go, all yours, do it. Aizawa then magically makes popcorn appear. He says, y'all want some? Bruh. I swear on God, Deku was about to give everybody the McDonald's hairline. If you don't know what the McDonald's hairline is, it's essentially Vegeta. Everybody was finna ask for a widow's peak edge up, bruh. But he just lunges at the nigga. And then his son, he steps in the way and he says, no, Dad, don't show off your abilities. Remember, I probably want you to do this so that way they get to scope out your abilities. He says, just kidding. That was training for you. He says, huh? And he said, to make sure that you know what your opponent is doing. And he says, Dad, I'm going to be honest, your genius scares me. And he says, it scares me a lot of the time too. And everybody's just like, how does he say that with a straight face? He's like, well, I guess my dad is my dad. He's like, well, yeah. And then Mako, she runs up to him. And she goes, yep, wouldn't have it any other way. Deku, he kisses her on the forehead. But, everybody was just astonished at how, like, smart Deku was. And, like, that one chick with, like, the, that was like freaking like really smart and had like an intelligence quirk or whatever. She says, hey, want to go back to Mako? I swear on God, she did a handstand, turned her legs into like her megalodon tail. Bop. And Deku, he said, home run. And Kira is just like, Dad, you and Mom are the funniest. He says, yep. He says, proudly with the Aizawa smile. And Aizawa's just like, ah, yes. Because I forgot to mention this. Aizawa adopted Mako. essentially. So Mako calls him dad. And Deku, he also calls him dad because, well, that's technically his father-in-law. Since they're married, cough cough, but yeah. And so, Deku but anywho, so they all skip to the elimination part. He covers all of 1A in a blood protection bubble, or blood shield is what I called it, right? Yeah. Or was it blood dome? I can't remember. But yeah. And then he says, Vlad the Impaler, and they're like, huh? Nigga drives spikes of blood through everyone. And then, like, the spikes of blood grow arms and hit them all with the balls. That sounds really, really wrong. But, yeah. Like I said, at first I wasn't gonna make him OP. And now, he's OP because he's now fused with Satan. Yes. See, you're welcome. I gave him character development, I think. Is that character development? And then he revives all of them. But Deku, he says, oh yeah, by the way, you're already all out. And they were all just like, oh, how? Impossible. And then, like, one of them tried to throw, and then, like, they all, thinking that Deku was lying, threw balls at him. Dang. It sounds really, really wrong. But that nigga dodged. Bob and weave, nigga, bob and weave. Can't touch this. Da-na-na-na. And he was doing the moonwalk while dodging. And then he did the lean, bruh. He did the lean without strings or wires. Michael, take lessons. But anywho, and by the way, the reason why I'm saying that is because Michael used wires to pull that off, even though it looked like it was technically him and only him doing it. He had strings connected to him. Pinocchio would be ashamed. But anywho, Kuragaya, he says, good job, Dad. And he says, I know. I will never do anything less than a good job, my son. And he says, oh, I know. I was just making sure that you know. And he says to all of them, he says, hey, say hi to Candace for me. And they're like, who's Candace? And he was like, Candace. And then, like, somehow, some way, freaking Bakugo and Kirishima, but not Todoroki, break out and teleport to the stands and cover Kuragaya's eyes and ears. Just like, nah, you don't need to hear this or see it. And he says, can this dick fit in your mouth? And as I was just like, that's my son-in-law. And then, like, Miss Joke's like, wait, you have a son-in-law? And he's like, yeah. Who's your daughter? I mean, I know Shinzo, but... And she says, oh, I adopted one. She's like, Who is she? Mako. And she's like, oh. Wait, the monster one? And Deku, he heard this while he was laughing, teleports up to her, and he says, Give me one good reason not to. And then he looks over at his son and he says, never mind. The world gave me a reason. He turns around, hops back down, and he says, alright, yeah, you can let go of his ears for now. And they went, good. Kirigaya, he then says, they do realize I can hear through vibrations in the ground, right? And then Deku, Bakugo, Kirishima, and everyone just looks at Deku and he's like, I'm in danger! He starts sprinting. All of Class 1A are just chasing this man. Just like, frick, run! That man's actually afraid for one time in his life, minus when he was fighting Satan. And he just feels murderous intent from Mako, and he's just like, looks like I'm not getting head tonight. And Deku's like, just kidding. Although, Dad, don't curse as much when you're around me. And he was like, thank God. Only dolphins can hear through echolocation. He's like, yes. But, yeah. Deku won that, and now it's time for the Forest Camp training arc. So now, we'll be leaving this video off. So, see you guys later. Part 4 will be coming out, and once I do part 4 of What If Deku Was Pain in Naruto. So yeah, have fun, stay blessed, I guess, and join the Discord server. So, see ya.